Welcome to this week's episode of the Sports Curious podcast. I am delighted and so excited to talk about the Women's World Cup with my favorite co founder and brother, who's a year older because since last podcast, he celebrated a birthday. Scott, welcome to the podcast, Scott.
Thank you for letting everyone know about my birthday. I really enjoy that. Glad to be here a year
It's
older.
This is why sisters exist, to embarrass the living hell out of their little brothers. So, how did you celebrate your birthday?
We live here in Las Vegas, so we went to see DJ Diesel, also known as Shaq, perform his DJ set at one of the nightclubs here in Las Vegas.
And was it everything you dreamed of and more?
Absolutely. Just the
Um,
biggest man in the world DJing. Just it's a
on a
very
small
funny visual.
turntable?
Yes.
But how many times have you seen him, though?
I don't know the exact number. It's a lot. Probably 10.
It's enough.
Yes.
Okay. Makes sense.
Super fan.
Well, then, so are there any surprises that he comes out with on the every time, or is it kind of a standard operating procedure?
It's a surprise every time. He mixes up a lot of different music genres. I think you'd be shocked. So go see
Any
him.
country?
I don't recall any country. No. Maybe we need to get.
Okay. Opera?
I hope Shaq's listening. He has some new genres to jump into.
Up your game there, Shaq.
Yep. And
I mean,
now
if
we're
you ever done a
a
Peloton ride,
year older, and wiser
you're
to talk
wiser.
about women's soccer.
We are going to talk women's soccer, and summer is usually really boring for us in the sports world. It's no offense to baseball, but baseball season is a very long.
Mm-hmm.
We have WNBA season, but both of those, neither of them are in sort of a championship state, so they're pretty quiet for us. And so, anytime we have an Olympics, it's exciting. But anytime we have a World Cup, it's very exciting. And when you are American watching the Women's World Cup, you are very excited. So the World Cup starts July 20th in Australia and New Zealand, runs all the way through August 20th. Scott, tell me what's different about this year's Women's World Cup.
First of all, like you said, it gives us something to talk about during the summer. So it's a nice addition to have. A lot more content than usual. And this World Cup, it's the first time it's been held in the Southern Hemisphere, with Australia and New Zealand hosting, which also means it's going to be winter down there. So while we're here sweating in Las Vegas and Tulsa, they're going to be nice and cold. So I think that'll be a little bit different. And obviously the time difference is going to be rough on us here in America.
It's going to be huge. Did you read that article that Washington D.C. is allowing bars to be open 24 hours during the Women's World Cup because Melbourne is 14 hours ahead of New York and Auckland is 16 hours ahead of New York. But we have games in Perth, which is further back.
West.
I can't remember which way we go. West. It's further west. No, yes, west. And so, I mean, we are talking huge numbers, right? 17 and 19 hours difference in Los Angeles. It may actually work out okay because sometimes if you're watching I guess it's a 10 a.m. game, no, that wouldn't work either. So really, you're going to be up in the middle of the night.
And it's going to be real rough on us who don't understand time zones very well.
No, it's really,
at least in DC, you can go party all night for patriotism.
Nothing says America like partying all night.
Mm-hmm.
Tip your waiters well, your wait staff.
Celebrate victories, hopefully.
Although I remember what was maybe the men's World Cup when we lived in Singapore and the bars were open super late. You'd walk by. This is when I was still in the space where I could stay up till wee hours.
Mm-hmm.
You'd walk by a bar at 2 a.m. and they're like, "We're showing the Sweden-Netherlands game. Everybody come on in for cocktails." And so I think it's kind of fun that the world sort of embraces, just like the Olympics, embraces what this is. So we have 10 stadiums in 9 cities. 5 of those are in Australia, 4 in New Zealand. I mean, it's pretty incredible. Fingers crossed that this tournament, so it happens every 4 years. Fingers crossed, the U.S. and Mexico put a bid in to host the 2027 Women's World Cup, which would be so much nicer for our time zones if we're being selfish.
Yes, fingers crossed that that happens, and probably for the athletes too. I assume they'd rather play in a little bit warmer weather.
It's a true statement. It's
Hmm.
risk. And if I'm not mistaken, the men's 2026 World Cup is North America, so it's Mexico, U.S., and Canada, right?
Yes, so hopefully they'll be able to follow that blueprint for the 2027 Women's
I'm
World Cup.
guessing
That
there's
would be nice.
it'll be really nice. So we're talking about World Cup. We obviously know that Team USA is the favorite rolling in to the tournament, but no one's ever gone back to back to back. So US is a four-time winner, two-time defending champion. Who else? What other teams should we be if we're betting on this? Who should we also be keeping an eye on?
Well, I mean, obviously, we're betting on America, first of all.
I mean,
That's the only one
yeah,
we're really worried about. And that's something different, like you said. If we're talking differences from previous World Cups, nobody's ever gone back to back to back. So we're looking to set a little history this year. And our neighbors to the north, I know we've got a nice little friendly rivalry with them, Canada, because they won the Olympic gold medal. And the USA Canada rivalry gets pretty physical. It's pretty intense, actually, considering
I didn't never would have thought. No offense, Canadians, I never would have thought soccer was the main the big sport up there.
it's
I always
it's
think of hockey.
growing. It's growing
It's
immensely. So
incredible.
yeah,
That's awesome.
and especially with the women, I know USA Hockey and USA Canada are huge rivals. It gets pretty physical. So I think should USA match up against them, that would be a lot of fun.
That's exciting.
And then
Okay, who else? What about Europe? I mean, everyone in Europe loves soccer,
mhm,
so or football, depending on who you're asking. I'm assuming England is always fantastic in all the things when it
yeah,
comes to soccer, but who else?
yeah, England. I mean, they're coming off that European Championship last summer, where they won in pretty epic fashion in front of that like sold out crowd in Wembley Stadium. So
Mhm.
they're rolling in with a lot of momentum, and we have a rivalry with them as well with the Revolutionary War. So
True. This is a true statement. And if I remember correctly, in the men's side, Germany's pretty good. Is that hold true to the women's side of the fence as well?
I think it's pretty much men's and women's. They go kind of hand in hand with who's dominant. We got France, Spain, Netherlands, Sweden. I mean, they're all kind of looking to make a big push against the U.S. as well.
So I think the game that I have tickets for is Netherlands China. So maybe I should be more excited about that.
You should. I think that'll be definitely a matchup. Can you talk about? Uh, you are going to Australia. Can you talk about
Yes.
the ticket process that you had to go
So
through?
we're going to see a game in Perth. We have some friends that live there, and 4 years ago when this was released, we're like, we're going to Perth. We had a baby, and that was a great idea then. Now knowing that it's 27 hours of air travel, just air travel, not connection travel or on the ground, to get there, I'm rethinking this whole process. But the process has been really interesting. So our friends on the ground in Perth, they can't really access tickets. We could not really access tickets. All either of us could find was standing room only. And so we have standing room only tickets, which with a 4-year-old is probably not going to be the best speed. So we'll figure that out if that works out or not. But it doesn't seem from what we can understand that there's any third party ticket sales like we have in the US.
Mhm.
And also they were saying there's been really no promotion of this game in Perth. And I think partially because it sounds like they're maybe a bit annoyed that they didn't go the Australian team there, but also the stadium they're playing in is something like 12,000 seats, which is basically what, like a minor league baseball team stadium,
Essentially,
give or
yeah,
take?
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not a lot
So,
of space.
no. So I'm imagining standing room only is like being in the outfield, the equivalent of whatever that looks like in that stadium.
Mhm.
So it's really fascinating that they're one of the few cities, one of the 5 cities in Australia to get this, and it seems like it's not going to be to the capacity you think it would be. But there is going to be a fan fest and all those things. So rest assured, I will share all the photos and the videos of all things Women's World Cup because I'm really excited about it. So,
Just to
and
be
what I
just to
love
be in the
about it,
atmosphere.
Right. And what I love about it is, for those who don't know me, my son is 4, and so it's really fun for me to have him watch women's sports.
Hmm.
One day he was like, "Oh my gosh, women play basketball?" He just had never really seen it because it wasn't WNBA season and it hadn't quite dawned on him, even though we watch it all the time. And so it's to me, this is such a huge and monumental moment, and we're going to visit some friends who have 3 daughters who all play sports. So it's super exciting for me, from my perspective of, look at what we're exposing our youngsters to. And I sound old when I say youngsters, but I can't think of next generation to. And so it's pretty exciting. So and they're going to get to see the likes of some new players on the US team, like Trinity Donovan, or
I
Trinity
mean,
Rodman.
Rodman, yes.
Rodman. I don't know why I can't. I want to call her Donovan every time we talk. Trinity Rodman, who happens to be the daughter of Dennis Rodman, the basketball legend.
Hmm. And
Um,
she's actually the highest paid player in the NWSL, which is the women's league here in America. And I think she's only 19, so that's pretty incredible.
She's yeah, she's gotta be good. She's got it, but she's got a name, right? The
She does.
biggest challenge with this year's team is, Alex Morgan and some of our players that we know so much about, Julie Ertz, they're all probably on the latter end of their career. We've just learned that Megan Rapinoe is retiring after her 4th World Cup and finishing out the NWSL season. So you're seeing teams invest in these young names like Trinity Rodman and Sophia Smith, who was the youngest MVP in NWSL history. You're seeing them invest in them because they really need to cultivate that next round of players, because the rest are kind of on the back end of their career.
That's kind of, you've got the two ends of the spectrum. You've got these legends that are getting a little bit older, but still playing extremely well. And then you
Oh
have the
yeah.
young kids coming up. And I was reading like how they make fun of all the older players for not knowing any of like the TikTok lingo and stuff. So there's definitely a generation gap for sure.
I mean, I think I'm on the back end of that generation gap, so I
Yes.
I get it. Are you going to tell me TikTok lingo, Scott?
I do not, I'm not in that generation either, unfortunately. So they're also probably making fun of you and I.
It's fine. It's fine. I'm here for it.
Hmm.
I don't pretend to know anything. I do not pretend to understand. So
No.
I that's part of the problem, right? I'm not even going to bother.
Mm-mm. No. Let them
Um,
do their thing as long as they can
I am
score
proud of
goals.
you all for adopting and moving and shaking, and I think it's amazing
Hmm.
because that's what happens. That's how evolution works. So kudos to you, next generation. We think you're awesome. At least I do. Um, Speaking of next generation money, there's a big payout this year. It's increased to $30 million from 4 years ago. The overall purse, $150 million prize purse from the 2023 tournament, which is up 30 million from 4 years ago. So how does that compare to the men's tournament?
It's still, it's an increase, a huge increase from last World Cup, but they're still light years behind the men. Like for example, USA won it in 2019. They took home 4 million, and when Argentina and Messi just won the World Cup over the summer, it was 42 million. So there's a considerable gap that they're trying to make up for here, but they're on their way.
Absolutely. So you've got a $40 million purse versus a $150 million purse. And kind of interesting, some of the drama around this tournament is FIFA's president. He basically said, European TV companies, you're not offering me enough money to broadcast these women's World Cup games in Europe. So if you want this, you need to pay these women what they're worth. And we all know that that also means pay FIFA what they're worth, but we
Yes,
won't dive into that as
mostly
much.
FIFA.
Pay mostly FIFA for what
Yeah.
they're worth, because they're not upping their prize pool as of this point. So, I mean, it's interesting because they've realized the bargaining power of women's soccer and women's sports. I mean, if you were looking in the US, like the bargaining power that WNBA is gaining and all of these things, it's really amazing that they've seen that and said, "Hey, we're going to capitalize on this." And they've since come to agreement so that everyone will get to watch the games for free in Europe. But it's interesting to see. But on the backside of that, one of the other dramatic things is that for a while it was reported that FIFA reached a sponsorship deal with Saudi Arabia, who doesn't tend to really give women a lot of rights. What happened with that?
I mean, we've seen like the Middle Eastern countries really start to put their money towards sports, as we've seen with golf and
Mhm.
F1 and WWE even. So Saudi Arabia tried to jump in and I guess try to help close that gap on the pay scale between the men and the women, but it was met with pretty bad backlash just based on Saudi Arabia's history with women's rights and things like that. So it didn't end up happening.
Yeah, it was really interesting. It's almost like they tossed it out there a little bit to see what everybody thought about it.
Hmm.
And everyone was like, "What? Are you kidding me?" They're like, "Oh, no, never mind. We're just gonna let this go silent and it's not gonna happen."
Yeah, it was kind of throw it out there and see what happens, and it didn't go very well.
Yeah, kind of interesting how that works, isn't it?
Hmm.
So, one of the things I really liked is as we're continuing to talk about, really being there for the women on the field, and that the US this year has these really great uniforms. We've actually seen this even at Wimbledon. So Wimbledon has an all white policy for uniforms, and they have since switched like undershorts, allowing women to wear dark colored undershorts in case they are on their menstrual cycle. And US women debuted these great Nike uniforms that are really super cool and
Hmm.
they look awesome, but they have leak protection for women on their menstrual cycles. So I love that we're thinking about the players on the field and the athletes. I mean, this tournament hasn't been around that long. It started in 1991. So I love it should have happened in 1991, but we're actually starting to think about the quality of the game and the quality of life for these athletes, which is pretty incredible.
It's extremely progressive, and credit to Nike for coming up with the technology and making it work, and
It's pretty cool.
just investing in women like they should have probably since 1991. But
Right.
we're
Yeah.
making progress.
Thank you, Allison Felix, the Olympic runner who took on Nike, because some of these
Hmm.
things I think wouldn't have been possible without some of those women jumping up and saying, "Hey, what about us? And what about these challenges that we face that men don't think about in when designing uniforms?" Um, One thing I want to leave us with before we go is this is an expanded field, right? We have countries who have never played in a women's World Cup before, and that's cool. We have Zambia, we have Haiti, and these teams are part of that 30 to the 32 teams in the Women's World Cup, which is up from 24 last tournament in France. And I mean, we started with 12 teams in 1991. And so now you have all of these teams that are coming in that are smaller countries, but are still out there and a force to be reckoned with for sure.
And expanding to 32 teams means more, access for young girls in the next generation to see, people that look like them or from their country be on a national stage and have a chance to play. So I think
Absolutely. You can't
the residual effects are, you know, unmatched at this point. We don't know how much it'll impact, but it certainly will.
Absolutely. You can't be what you can't see. And so some of these countries who are rolling out teams this year,
Hmm.
it's incredible. It's incredible to see. And like you said, I think the impact is something we almost undersell because it's going to be huge. Is there anything else you want to leave us with before we wrap up?
There might be two things, and I just when
Okay,
we were,
I'll take two things.
I didn't meant to jump in there when we were talking about the pay. This is the first World Cup where the U.S. women's national team will have equal pay to the men. After
Oh,
that,
fantastic.
like we said, that older generation had to sue the soccer federation to get it, but they will have equal pay as the men. So that's a huge step for the U.S. women, at least.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what is point number two that we need to know?
Point number two is the home country, Australia. Their team's nickname is the Matildas. I'm sure
And
you're going to hear that a
there I
lot.
am. I mean, I'm clearly I knew this or didn't. And tell me why they're called the Matildas.
They uh, they ran a name like competition for people to vote on, I think it was back in 1995. So Matildas was the name that won. So that's why we have the Matildas.
It reminds me of, remember when they was it the one of the was the US Navy tried to do a competition to name the of a ship, and they called it was Bodie McBoatface.
Yeah,
I mean, the Matildas is way
that's
better than Bodie McBoatface, but
yeah, it's pretty tame compared to what us dumb people in America would have named it. So yeah,
I
it's
don't know,
PG at
Bodie
least.
McBoatface.
Yes.
PG, there you go. That's an awesome nugget of knowledge. So, World Cup Women's World Cup starts on July 20th, but the US start in their group stage versus Vietnam in Auckland, New Zealand on July 22nd, 1 p.m. local time, Friday night in New York time, Eastern time. It's going to be exciting.
Oh, so it'll be a Friday/Saturday game for us here,
Everybody head to Washington D.C.
or
Bars are
Las Vegas,
open,
or Las
or
Vegas.
Las Vegas.
Bars are
Bars are
always
also
open.
open.
So
Las what was I thinking as a Las Vegas native? Everyone go to Las Vegas.
come on down.
Stat. Go see the big sphere. You're sure they're going to have something in the sphere for the World Cup. There's going to
Soccer
be a big
ball.
giant soccer ball.
Let's hope.
It's so cool. I can't wait to see it at night in person.
Yeah, it's mind
Well,
blowing.
mind blowing, as Vegas does. You know what's mind blowing? To watch a women's World Cup soccer game on Friday night, so maybe July 22nd when they play Vietnam. So thanks, Scott, for joining me. Thanks for the nuggets
Me
of
too.
information that we would not know about the Matildas without you. Thank you for wearing your Go USA Goal shirt.
There you go.
Thank you, and good day, mate.
Thank you.